suppose that's what it is. I think so. I don't know.
I'm wondering if the All-Star game is on.
Who won it? Home run deal. Who? Did they? My goodness, he even knows his name. Like a new one. Easy, Smitty, easy.
All right, at 6 o'clock, call meeting order. And get the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reminder about turning the microphones on so we get started here. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion.
From Ken, second from Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, let's pay the bills. Motion to pay the bills from last month. You shine.
I'll make it.
All right, Troy, second from Tom. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Stu, you are up.
This will be short and sweet. On your center point matter, I think we've got that resolved. For the exchange for the payment that you approved last month and the release. So I think that's pretty much wrapped. And then per your request, I had circulated last month a proposed ordinance about noise and refrigerator trucks and all that. So that's on in your court if you want to go that route.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay, I think somebody is here. I'll get to you in a minute. It's from Drew Tharp. Okay, that's you guys. So, Stu, do you want to address our issues at this time or let them talk first? How do we want to handle that?
We could address it now, so all of democracy.
So this kind of falls under you, so.
Yeah, so we've been, Drew and I have been communicating with regards to the old Peyton's building and proposed storage unit next door to that. So the council asked me to invite Drew and a representative of the company, if they could make it, to come talk to you about their plans, what they got going on, and what they would, I guess what they're
Yeah, go on up there if you would, please.
You have to face the camera and create.
Smile. I did bring some site plans. If I have enough. So yes, as Stu said, my name is Drew Tharp. I'm here from Goodwine Law in Lafayette on behalf of Veedersburg. VC owns the two lots there on Washington Street, both the old Hayes building as well as the vacant lot next door that we plan to construct a storage facility on. VC Preferred is an experienced group of landowners and developers. They own hundreds, if not thousands, of residential units around the state, as well as another storage facility up in Fowler, Indiana, several other various retail, or excuse me, real estate holdings around the state. So they're an experienced group. They pride themselves on good quality projects. They've leased the Payton's building out to another refrigerated food business that's currently using the space. As I said, planning to develop that big self-storage facility. So I distributed the preliminary site plan there for the storage facility. Some of that is subject to some slight tweaks, but more or less that is the anticipated product. They are currently working on ground fill for that site to level it out in preparation for construction. I believe they're pretty close to having that portion of the work completed and aim to begin on construction within the next 60 days or so, pending weather cooperation and all the other ducks in a row. So I know there's been some complaints about runoff from the dirt that's been brought into the site from the ground fill operations. And while some of that is inevitable due to all the rain we've gotten lately, we do plan on installing secondary fence along the boundary lines of the property. Secondary measure to hopefully contain some of that, prevent further runoff on the neighboring properties. So we're going to do the best we can to contain that moving forward. Like I said, hopefully it won't be an issue for long, given the fact that ground fill work is already done, really done. Construction projects too. So that's kind of a little preliminary insight on where we're at with the storage facility. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll start. First of all, the dirt was put down without the soldering being removed. And it has continued to run in the neighbor's yard. It's made a total mess. What are you planning on doing for drainage and for safety and security around there? Because, you put this right in the middle of the neighborhood, and as of right now, the permit has expired. The permit has not been renewed yet.
Well,
And we can't renew it until we know those things are resolved.
I would, first, I suppose, a preliminary matter with the permit, I would contest that. Spoken with Terry Shields back in April when the permit was set to expire, and then asked for an additional 90 days, and he granted that.
Nothing was written. I think it just said, I don't see a problem with that. Is that the way you have it?
That's true.
Yes.
My counter to that would be, Terry would attest, I pounded him for months just to get to that point. At a certain point, there's only so much I can do.
Sure.
I've asked for every opportunity to document things as might be appropriate. That's where we're at. So I take your point. I understand that we're running on a tight timeline here, to say the least.
Yep. So what are you going to do as far as drainage? And let's start with that. I mean, because the neighbor's yard is taking a beating over it. And it's going to rain more. I mean, that's not the only rain we have.
Understood. We hope that the secondary fencing is going to help with some of that.
What kind of fencing will that be?
What can you see? I want to back up to that. Have you physically went out and looked at that property?
I have.
That gravel and that stuff only run off top of the hill, which is our property.
Not down in her yard. I have pictures of her yard.
On the way out to the house.
Yes, I Video of what?
This is Josh, he's the land. But here, it does not go all the way to her house.
Yeah, well, we can show,
Now there's gravel and dirt, but that's been there.
not in the yard, so
We
Stu.
have sent some pictures of the mud and dirt coming down.
Yes, and not to interrupt you, but Troy and Josh both have been out on site here, and some of those pictures, you know, in our site inspections, we would kind of say, some of that runoff is clearly on our property. Some of it may have funneled all the way up to your house, and I understand your frustration with that. Like I said, we're hoping to address that with fencing. When construction begins, that'll be done by FBI buildings. They will integrate drainage plans and full scope of necessary protections at that point. Those plans have not been finalized yet, but, you know, we will be having experience for crew develop this site, and we expect them to address that in a permanent fashion following construction. Josh?
Josh Miller, I'm on Deep Root Plant Solutions. We're doing dirt work, strictly the dirt work. Prep site for neighbor here and present.
Yes.
I spoke with her several times. I actually just met her the other day. Had a cordial conversation with her.
Yep.
As I have done with multiple neighbors around that area, being cordial, talking to them, trying to give them the basic idea of what's on their site. Reference to the runoff and stuff like that, I had hauled in some dirt loads, got the 6 plus 8 inches of rain.
Yep.
That was the time, I believe that the pictures were taken, or the videos were taken. That's a significant amount of rain
It is.
compared to usual. So that was kind of a astronomical amount of water runoff. And at that time, you know, drive through town, you see the mud lines up on the other portions. But I knew it was pretty deep. She had contacted about the silt fence being exposed. Due to that high volume of water, I was immediately called and immediately showed up
How many storage units are you talking?
I don't know that, or you may know the answer to this, I don't know that it's been determined yet. Roughly 60.
Okay, are these going to be lit up at night, or?
Yeah, well, as you'll see on the site plan there, we do have plans for 6 lights, like 1 in each corner and 2 in the middle there, in between the 2 buildings running in the middle. So it will be, lit so that you can get in and out safely.
So you're looking at 24/7 access to these?
So will you have a heat gate?
Yeah.
Keypad gate?
Is there going to be a lot of light there that's going to disrupt the neighborhood?
That's certainly not our intention. Again, these plans have yet to be finalized with
Yeah.
the builders, but we want enough light for safety, but
Yeah.
not so much light that it disturbs
Sure.
the surrounding area.
Yes, that's what we're looking at. You're putting this in the middle of a neighborhood where people have lived for a long time, and
Yeah.
it's our job as a council to look out for these people and to take care of them.
Understood. And like I said, we are experienced developers here. We have experience building these projects, then to deliver a quality project that will be a value add to the community.
Okay. Is that the only thing going in is storage units? Okay. But heard different things besides storage unit, and I didn't see where anything else would go there, so.
I just had a brief look at this plans. Your setback on the west side is going to be how much? Which would be facing, is that Cochran?
Yes, that is facing Cochrane. It looks as though, but I believe that says 30 feet from the edge of the road there to the fence line.
You're talking about from the property line?
Well, one of the unique features of this site is that the property line actually extends across the road. So we divided on the south side. On the west side, we divided it so that the paved barbecue lot ends at the center line of Cochran Street. This one begins on the east side, runs to the east side. So, I'm not sure exactly what this proposed property line is because according to the legal description on the deed, we own all of that anyway. But it appears to be set back at least 13 from the edge of the right of way there.
Okay, I think under zoning, I didn't look in I know in the residential, it's 30 feet from the front of the structure. And you're not going to have that much, you say?
Well, I mean, as I see it here, we've got at least 13 feet from the right of way to what they have drawn up as the proposed property line. The fence is only a few feet further than that. I can't tell how far, but
Well, your one structure is going to be within the less than the 30 feet, correct?
it appears the fence will be within 30 feet.
I'm talking about the structure itself.
I
I don't see that.
I don't believe.
I don't see that measurement. Should be,
I don't either. We can.
I think if you look back at residential, I have 15 combination on the sides, that's on the residential side, and 30 in the front. And I don't remember offhand what the back is supposed to have.
We can
But-
look into that again.
Got a question on it now. What are you using for the drive, the parking area around there? Is that going to be aggregate, going to be stone, going to be concrete?
Yes, after I finish doing all the soil work and prep for that, I'll be going on base.
Mm-hmm.
So the drainage portion of that, with that amount of dirt going in there, that amount of stone going, likelihood of any kind of water coming on that property more than what it already does before this.
You're not going to get a lot of saturation because you got all that metal roof and you got the compacted stone. So I don't think it's quite going to be as permeable as grass or whatever's out there now. So you're gonna have some possible water runoffs, and we can't guarantee what this weather's gonna do. Do you guys, have you proposed any kind of a drainage situation?
With the proper landscaping that'll be done around the outside of the facility, that should
Is that gonna be flat when you get done? Is that total property gonna be flat when you're done? It's gotta go, it's,
No,
right now,
no,
it's,
no.
it's
It's on a run towards
east.
the east.
Yes.
Yes, correct. Where the
It's a pretty good drop. I don't,
It's
I
going
didn't
toward
shoot it,
there.
but
I'm sending the water with the natural watershed that's there. As far as everything else that comes off that hillside there, where all the water goes through, I believe it's Ackville, to the creek, I believe it is.
I was gonna say, right now, was sod, so you've got so much of that. Now, if you get that compacted up there, you're gonna have water runoff. And the metal sheds, every one of those got so much, I don't care as long as it's addressed.
Yes.
Every one of those got that. Are they gonna be guttered?
Yes.
Okay, so that water, guttered water's gotta go somewhere. But that water's gonna have to go someplace, because if it doesn't, it's gonna come down in a 6 to 8, 10 inch, whatever, down. And it's gotta be directed someplace, and it should be directed, these people live down in that area, it should be directed away from
Actually,
it.
it's going farther away from their house than it actually. And you're taking it off to, what would that be?
So if you're taking that down, it's gonna go right down, I think, where their driveway goes down. It's gonna,
Their drive, yes.
But that's
And
the-
towards that corner, yes.
okay. I'm just wanting to put it online, because
Right.
I'm seeing, they've asked me to get down and look at it,
Correct.
and I'm just kind of doing a little observation, because I know when you put that much metal roof up there, you're gonna get
Oh,
runoff.
yeah, that's a lot of.
I mean, it's,
square inches
yeah,
for
it's,
water to run off.
I mean, that water's gotta go someplace, it's not gonna go in, like, into a sod field or anything like that.
Correct.
So you
I'm
got,
gonna show my ignorance here, is there any kind of drainage tiles or anything?
I don't see
There
it.
is not.
All right, that might be something to kind of kick around.
Yeah, I think I would,
Well, that's what I would say, a catch basin on each driveway, actually.
and that needs to go somewhere, it's gonna be off that property, but it's gonna have to go somewhere till it gets out into that field.
Right, right.
I mean, we don't wanna create a problem for people living down there.
Right, absolutely
that's-
not, and that's why I explained
Linda,
and to her and several other neighbors that's around there. Like I said, we've had some good cordial conversations with the neighbors.
Mhm.
Well, that hasn't
I'm
been
trying
too
to make
cordial
the
here.
progress easier, you know, I'm trying to make the progress a lot easier for the neighbors and keep it my progress.
Okay.
You guys got business cards so that we can communicate if we
Okay.
need to about X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And if you have time-
We're trying, I think the town's trying to address things before they become a problem.
Right.
So I think that's the whole
That's
purpose
the
of
key.
having them here today. It's how about this? How can we address this as opposed to firing shots across each
Right,
other's
yeah,
bow?
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
try to
And
work
that's why,
together
you know,
to.
that's why I reached out to her and the neighbor I did, because I see her out, approached her, you know,
Yeah.
aspect. What can I do to help you guys out, to make you guys happier, or what, you know, let's work together, let's try to figure this out, in the sense. And I took every bit of what she said in context, and, you know, about my dump truck, you know, earlier in days.
Yeah.
I spoke with her on that, and it hasn't happened since then.
okay. So if you guys can, if they have any questions after kind of what we've addressed and pointed out, if you can answer their questions personally after the meeting,
Okay.
we do that. So the other thing I want to talk about with you guys also then is the noise from the trailers. What is the plan on the trailers running up there by the Peytons?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to kind of turn around with the question back to you is, my understanding, and maybe completely ignorant here, but my understanding is that the current use of the building, tenant that is operating now is running a refrigerated food business. My understanding was that that was essentially the same use that it was prior to his operation.
Yeah,
So
except
I'd like to kind of understand what
the
the
difference
difference is now.
then, they were running them off of power there and not running them off of
Well, the compressors are on the north side of the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, and there wasn't a lot of refrigerated trucks there either. They had, you know, Peyton might have had one or two trucks come in, but these.
And they were
and
plugged
again,
in.
Since we were asked, I drove down and this, it's, to see what it is. These trucks, these reefers are running. And the thing is, before the use was, when Peyton was there, they had most of that was internal cooling. And they might have a truck for a short period of time backing up or anything. These are sitting there. I just want to get it out in front, so everybody's got questions to see if we can maybe address this thing, so everybody's a happy
Absolutely.
family.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, we want to be a good neighbor here. The tenant is running his business as he sees fit. That said, we have obviously some powers as a landlord that we need to curtail certain behaviors.
Yep.
We're happy to discuss that with him. Just
Memphis Peyton Barbecue, we had two small box trucks plugged in, those refrigerated trucks. We ran on shore power, very quiet, never heard of it. We would have one semi-truck, 18-wheel, 53-foot trailer, back up to that loading dock, unload, and be gone. Your current tenant, at time, has had 6 full-size reefers, sometimes 8, parked down there running 24/7. And they block the street. Do they have access to a bathroom? Are they using, do they have access to that building? Because they don't leave. So where are they going to the bathroom when they're parked down there for days on end? Those reefers keep us awake, day and night. They were driving in our yards, and when I went down to have words with the driver, when I caught him driving, not along the side of my yard, pulling into my yard, to back into Peyton's Barbecue, he more or less told me where to go. Then the county sheriff stopped me. Your good neighbor policy isn't working out very well for a lot.
If you can work with them, and
I understand.
we can figure it out.
be happy to have that
Okay.
conversation.
All right, thank
That
you.
was kind of our thought, was to get some people down here that at least you folks would know what was going on. I mean, that's, now you've got a little better picture of the things that are happening and what can happen. And again, I'm concerned about setbacks on it, worried about the runoff. I'm still back on these storage buildings. And if you can address these things, you know, you may have to, instead of a small area, you may have to do a short wall on the, back to the east side or something. But I think you guys need to look at that, because it's too late once you get everything up. Then it's gonna be costly, and that water's still gotta come off. If it drops in, gets wherever it falls out, whether it comes out in a splash guard or whether it comes out into some kind of pipe. I would really like to see some kind of drainage, rough drainage idea of how that, we're gonna disperse that water. And that's, I guess that's my concern more than anything else.
Again, we're trying to address issues before they become a problem.
Yep,
Absolutely.
all right. We do appreciate you coming down, and know at least we have a face and we know,
Of course.
Have
and
connection?
I do have, not the car, but I do have some cars. I'll
Okay.
get them.
all right, and if you can stay around and talk, if anybody has any questions, we appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jesse?
I got a little comment on this. This, on the side, water has to go through, if it's on the east side of the building, the south side of the building, it has to go across his property to get to the creek.
Well, talk to these gentlemen afterwards, and I think they're addressing that now, and that's what we just talked about, was putting some drains in, so.
Okay, then on the other thing, ever since that site, I've been watching. You wonder what the whole thing's gonna work about. We're just gonna step by step, I've been around long enough. The first thing, then, move the topsoil. I understand, that's what most people do. They haul all these loads in there, stack them up. Now, they're gonna compact them. Now, why do they put big wide tracks on an excavator or a bobcat? Why do they put big long tracks on them?
I would talk to this gentleman right here, I think he's doing the dirt work, I think he can give you all those answers. Not us, but I think this gentleman right here can do that for you. Okay? Jesse?
I got the water loss audit submitted to IFA for last year. Got the sampling, the yearly sampling scheduled for August 3rd. We replaced broken shutoffs in meter pits. We had several of them from the winter time. Had a leak out at the 4-H fairgrounds last week. Guys got that repaired. Main Street for community crossings. We're wrapping up the concrete work on the west side of the road, and we'll begin saw cutting on the east side on Thursday. It should just be a smooth transition, roll over
Okay.
the other side of the road. We got sewer main cleaning ongoing, and the fill is being placed in the old basin out at the wastewater plant. I was out there today. We're 2-3 foot from the top. We're 98% there. Looking good. Electric, they're replacing the poles and doing the rebuild on North Maple Street. That'll be ongoing. Also, they did tree trimming out at the sewer plant. And the only thing I've got is, we've got a minor PAMP update proposal from HWC for $3,100. That's required to be compliant for community crossings and continue to get grants. And then also in that is a not to exceed for community crossings 2027, $27,400. That is if we got the funds and we decide we're going to go ahead and continue on community crossings next year.
I think it's the best money we've spent. So can I get a motion, you guys, to approve both those? Motion from Ken.
Second.
Second from Mike. All in favor? Okay, we will sign that.
That's all I got.
Okay, questions for Jesse, anyone?
Yes, I do. On that, have you talked with HWC about the large change order that we've got starting right off the bat?
Yeah, Eric, we've had discussion.
Okay, Eric, I'd like to at least talk to you or somebody about that. See, because you guys have done a lot of engineering for us. And that change order was not very nice.
The driveways were not in the plans. Had they been in the plans, the contract price would have been. Talked with Jesse, the amount that was allocated based on our estimates, it would be under that. If we had put the drives in, the contractor's bid would have been higher by that amount. Understanding you don't like a change order, but
That's a big change order. And the thing about it is, the money was appropriated at the 20% match to come up to the point what the bid was. So I just wanted to express my concern about it, because we never had this problem with HWC.
I addressed it with our staff. It was actually transitioning from a previous manager of that program for us to one that everybody that we worked with said this team is better than the previous team. Not that they were bad, but I know they sent things to Jesse to look at, and it was just missed by both of them. And,
But we're still coming in under.
yes,
Okay.
they were under what was budgeted.
Well, we required up to on the match. Yeah. And had we got that in there, I'm not picking things, but had we been in there,
You would pay more.
we would have paid it 20% higher than instead of 100%, correct? Of that change order, if it had been caught? Okay. That was my concern.
Gary?
I spoke with Tip of the Spear today. We're going to set up a day next week. He's going to come down and pick up the Explorer, start on it.
Okay.
I think we're only missing one main item right now that hasn't come in yet. The Charger drive shaft was put in. Again, didn't cost us anything,
Yep.
except Matt's time. The problem is, Matt says now the Charger needs a whole new exhaust.
Gone so far we can't quit down.
How much? We get a price yet?
He didn't get a I don't know that he really wants to do, he said probably take it to like a regular
Okay.
muffler shop and.
Local, you have Newnham and Covington,
Probably.
and then you have
Yeah.
Watson and
I
Attica.
was looking online, it looks like the parts alone are probably 900.
A lot of that stuff they can bend themselves, so let's get a price from them.
Good.
Let's take it over and get a price and see where it is.
All right. Email was sent to the Law Enforcement Academy for the job posting. We don't go in there and do it anymore ourselves. We have to send an email to a certain guy, and
Okay?
he posts it on there.
Guys are putting in for days off, so as they put them in, I contact the sheriff's office and say, hey,
That's all we can do.
you know, I'm not gonna have anybody this day or this night or
Yeah.
whatever, so. All the accessories are in for the new guns, but the guns themselves are not. So
Okay.
that's all I have.
Okay. Questions for Kerry, anybody?
So have we got any applications yet? What's
I haven't seen it.
Jacob's last day?
He hasn't given one yet.
Okay.
That was August 1st, wasn't it?
He's put in for his vacation, so I'm assuming that probably
It's coming.
first week of August, maybe second week at the most, latest. I'd
All
say
right.
he'll probably be gone, so.
Okay. Well, he's earned them, so that's the way it works. Okay, Kim?
The Youth Community Mural Project has been a great success. We had 20 students, grades K through 12, work very hard throughout this program. They should be completed after tomorrow's session, so the weather kind of has postponed it, I apologize. But they should be, and then we have a couple teams that have very intricate details that may come and go in the next week after that, but the alley should be open next week.
Okay.
It should be fine. It's been a great project for the kids. We had a lot of other students reaching out, asking if they could do it as well. So we've had a great response from that. And then we look to have a ribbon cutting and recognition ceremony at the street fair for it. So we'll do a ribbon cutting ceremony for that. Our first farm stand market got rained out downtown at the amphitheater, but thankfully Prime Cut 41 let all of our vendors go out there and put all their stuff up there, and most of them sold out. So we were grateful that they partnered with us for that. So we're still going to try it for the next few weeks, but it was a great spot to have a farmer's market out there. So just
Okay.
make a note of that. Doing street fair preparations, planning on we're doing vendors. We're still raising money for the fireworks, selling our bicentennials t-shirts. So if anybody wants a t-shirt, please let us know, and they will be selling those at the next farmer's market as well. B. Ziegler and American Pie are the music for the street fair, and there will be fireworks. And then the other, of course, we didn't get the grant money for the art block, but we have some other plans that we're trying to move that project forward. The 201 North Main Street has a prospective buyer, and we'll be fixing the broken windows and pigeons, and hopefully the overall blight on that 200 block. Still looking at the 211 North Main Street building and trying to figure out exactly what you want to do with that. If you have any ideas, I'm still trying to come up with some things. I did leave you a set of papers, like a little strategic plan of some ideas.
Okay, we'll look through them.
And then, I think, I went to a economic development summit last week at Ball State put on up in Pulaski County. It was really educational. It was a lot of information. So that's all I
Okay.
have.
Okay. Questions for Kim, anyone?
Got one for you, Kim, on that. Did you talk to the buyer or prospective, whichever? We still do have some, probably some pigeon removal funds available.
I have not talked to the buyer about that, but I've mentioned it to the realtor.
Okay, I think we could still extend that into something like that, and if anything else goes on in town, we could probably put something. That's a good help.
And I know that Tom Chavez was also interested in that, but I haven't heard back from him either. So I'll try to reach out to him.
Okay. Anything else for Kim? Terry?
On Berry Street, or Keeling Street, I mean, and I'm gonna meet with them next week. And I've had 2 or 3 call, wanna know if we were gonna allow small houses like Covenant. And I looked it up, they gotta be 840 square feet to be approved. But them aren't much bigger than that, like Covenant, the ones they're building. So I gotta meet with them.
Okay.
And I got a few sheds. I gotta stop at a couple places that's got sheds and never got a permit.
Right, we need to stress to everybody that's putting in sheds, they need a permit. If they're putting holes in the ground, they need to do locates. Just a lot of people are not doing that.
So we got one that gotta move because it ended up
Right, there's
being
gonna be
on
one taken down in the next week, so.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. Questions for Terry, anybody? Okay, old business, something we've talked about. Troy talked to me earlier in the week, fire truck, he's still pursuing that. He does have his 3 bids. So Troy, anything you want to add to that at this point?
Yeah, we need the town to take the lead, because we're not gonna get anywhere. The township's got to, base it off of which one we're gonna go with and what the money's gonna be, so. And these numbers are gonna keep changing until we get something in the contract and get it going, so. I've got 3 bids. Pierce bid me one that actually bid last year. What we actually was looking to get was 100-foot thick at 1.9, and that was because they're the only ones that do 100-foot single axle. And then 2 others, Rosenbauer's 1.5 and Donnelly 1.5. So either one, I mean, we need to get going and try to get this going quick if we're going to, because these numbers is going to keep going up.
How's the township looking on their part?
That's what I'm saying. We got to take the lead on it, because they're not going to go forward until we basically get something signed, so they know where they want to base their.
We'll let Brandon discuss that. We'll let Brandon discuss that a little bit more here in a few minutes then. Okay. All right, on to new business.
Oh, wait a minute, excuse me, again, one more time. And Brandon, you probably covered this, but we had talked about that fire truck taking over like a 3-year period. And it looks like under your, you'll explain, I'm sure, we're gonna try to do it in 1 year. It's gonna take 3 years to get the truck.
No.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait. If we were to sign a contract to get one built now, it could be 3 years down the road. That's not gonna be that's just gonna be a rough estimate. So if they start building that, you sign a contract, they start building that tomorrow, that could change.
Oh, yeah.
Because over 3 years,
Right.
shit goes up, prices go up. So,
Delivery, 3 years,
but these,
from a cost perspective, model I have just all comes out in 1 year, but Washington,
yeah.
years, in fact, you get the same.
So I got 2 trucks now listed here that are gonna be done within this next year.
Mhm.
And then the other one is a 3-year.
Okay, so it looks as though we may not have a third. Is that what you're saying? Because
No,
we
I'm
don't know
not.
what township
No.
can do.
Township's interested in,
Going 1/3.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Let's let Brandon get into that here in a little
Yeah,
bit when he gets to
I've
his
got some
part.
other.
About it, if you have questions.
Yeah,
the
that's
town needs to take the lead.
Okay, on new business, one thing I had is the Eagle accounts. We have one for 44823, so we need a motion to turn this into Eagle accounts to collect that. Motion for that?
Yes.
Mike, second. And Ken, all in favor?
All right.
All right. Eric, you are up.
I believe I sent a copy of this letter to each of you regarding the utility building that I've been talking to Jesse about. And he was talking to me about how to accomplish getting this new building built. And we talked about BOT. And to kind of refresh everybody, that is the build, operate, transfer process that we utilize on the wastewater project. That, remember, we were doing the engineering on it. We were about 30% done, issued an RFPQ for a BOT contractor to build it. Reynolds was selected, and we started collaborating with them. So there's different ways to do this BOT process, but in talking with Jesse, Those services will essentially be designing, constructing, managing, and delivering the project, taking the burden off the town. Obviously, the town would have input, the BOT developer would want to work with Jesse to get things the way he wants it, town council to get input, but key to this is deliver something, taking the burden off, and taking the problems away from the town, making sure the project is delivered hassle-free. HWC, as you know, was not the developer on wastewater project. Reynolds was the contractor developer. Since then, we've done several BOT projects as the developer. Basically, we've managed it, brought in the contractors to do work. We've done this on police stations, residential subdivisions, other buildings, and even infrastructure projects. So that's something we've done since that wastewater project and since BOT has become more common. So once you go through the process of selecting a BOT developer, you go through a scoping period. During that scoping period, we would actually develop a preliminary design, basically floor plan and elevation, develop the sizes, number of doors, and working with you to make sure you're comfortable with all that. Then we would get pricing. At the end of that scoping period, there would be a guaranteed maximum price for everything. And just like the wastewater project, the cost of the project could not exceed that. If there were savings or things that happened during the project, it could go lower, but it would not exceed that. There would be a cost for the scoping period, but it would only be the cost of developing that preliminary design. If you decided didn't want to go through with the process and enter into a BOT agreement at the end of the scoping period, the preliminary design would be turned over to the town so you could go another route. You could do a design bid build and manage it yourselves, or you could decide that's the way you want to do and move ahead, and there would be an agreement for the BOT development. Once if it proceeds that way, we go through preliminary or final design, get all your permits, procure contractors, procure all the material, and manage the construction. So that's a process that could work for the utility building. Happy to answer any questions about the process or about the potential project.
I got one question, Eric, on that, you don't have, there's no preliminary plans or anything on this at this point. So it's, the numbers I'm seeing are guesstimated. You haven't seen these, well, this comes back over there. So again, that's gonna be the thing, and we don't have even a set of rough drawing of what we want, right?
What I'm proposing, if you went this BOT route,
there's none.
those preliminary drawings would be provided, and we would have pricing at that point to develop the guaranteed maximum price.
Okay.
And if you didn't like the price, thought you could do it cheaper going another route, then you could scrap the process and you'd only be out the cost of developing those plans. You could go a different process.
We've been pretty successful working with you guys. My question is that now that's got to be a state-approved plan, correct? So at that point, we would have something that we could get some kind of pricing off of. So our first step would be to get those plans.
Yeah.
Site plans and.
If you go this process, that would be the first, assuming you do the advertisement and you select us, the first thing we would do is work with you, develop those plans so that we could then have a design that we could price off of.
Yeah, so you'd be working off, if you got the job to do the drawings, okay.
And, under this process, you can tell us what contractor you want us to make sure we solicit. We could look at locals. You've got a lot more control with this than you would under a hard bid type plan.
We've had good luck with you, especially that dirt plant out there, so. Yeah, I was just kind of wondering, because there's some guesstimates come up here, and maybe you'll be able to explain that as we get closer.
Yeah.
Using guesstimate, okay.
So Eric, to get started with you on that then, what would we need to do if that's the way we want to start to get it?
If you want to go that way,
Yep.
you would authorize us to help you develop the RFP advertisement.
Okay.
We could put that together and work with Kristen to get it published. And
Stu, any input on this? Okay. Well, I mean, more we drag our feet, more it's gonna cost us. And we know we need a building, so we get a motion to get going with HWC on this?
I will.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, start the process.
We'll get it going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Brandon, you are up. Cronin Associates.
Brandon with OW Crown here to talk about a couple of different things that have been coming up here. Financing for fire truck, utility building, financing, funding options, what that might look like. And to answer these questions, I put together 5-year cash flow projections on a handful of the town and utility funds. If we were to do these kinds of projects here the next couple of years, what's that going to look like moving forward? Hard for me to get those kinds of questions without being able to see the big picture. So, put together a 2-page report that Kristen had shared with you all that has all the detailed numbers, and I put together a handful of slides, a high-level overview of my findings, my recommendations, what I'm seeing in town, Tiffany, moving forward. On the second page of your handout, council, just a couple of goals of the financial sustainability plan. Going to help us figure out where cash is available for spending. We're also going to be able to review the fund balances. They are hitting recommended reserves. Then lastly, hopefully that this can be a financial decision for the town. This is something that we had looked at a couple years ago. I think it's going to go into conjunction with the upcoming budget, particularly in the general fund. So we can kind of use this as a working document to move forward to help us make it above and beyond the shop and the fire. Page 3, this is a summary of those costs. So this is all assuming everything happens in 1 year. Mike, you mentioned that. In all reality, it's going to be over a 2 or 3 year period, depending on what the contract is and what the terms of the agreement are. But what's important for me to understand and for the town to understand is that we're looking at cash funding, not looking to raise taxes, we're not looking to bond anything. I looked at the fund balances as they are at the end of the year and a few months here into 2026 to make sure that if we do these projects, where is this money going to come from? So that's what's shown here on that page 3. We're using 1.6 as an estimate for the fire truck. And as Troy mentioned, it's anywhere from 1.5 to 1.9. So it's up in that 1.9 range. These numbers might vary depending on if that's the way we want to go. Now in the shop, I had worked with Kristen to get an estimate of $1 million to $1.5 million. And they're not really quite there yet on what the amounts are. But for the shop in particular, since it's a utility building, I would think that the best place to look is your electric depreciation fund. There's ample funding there with a $1.5 million purchase. We're looking at potentially TIF and electric funds. We'll talk about water and sewer and why I don't have anything coming out of there later. That's for the shop, and then for the fire truck, if it's a 1/3 split between the township, the town, and REC, that comes out around $530,000 to $540,000 a year from each entity. So for the town in particular, we have the general fund and the CCD. I think that's half of the 1/3 for general and CCD. So the CCD fund currently only reserved for fire department expenses. That money, as long as I've been working here, is sitting there. So what I have in my model is basically whenever cash is needed, we spend as much of that CCD. The rest of it will come from general fund. So that's the town portion. So it came out to about $270,000. Again, depending on the settlements and when everything actually happens, it may be more or less. We're recommending that other third to come out of TIF and then the township. That's a big piece. So if we're going to move forward with this, I think it makes sense to probably have some meetings that are offline with some representatives from the township. This is the best time to do it because they are going to be getting ready to do their budget. I'll probably be here with you all in a couple months to help with your budget. If the township is looking to do any sort of financing for their piece, they're going to have to get taxes approved for 2027, and that's going to happen here in the next few months. So the way this is all shaking out, in my opinion, is that if we're going to do this, we other fund balances that we've looked at. Page 4, town and RDC. If we have money coming out of the general fund, I feel comfortable with that. We typically have around 900 to a million general fund. This would probably spend it down to anywhere from that $650,000 range over the next few years, assuming that that 270,000 comes out of the general fund. It's goes towards the fire truck. So feel comfortable with that reserve amount. Anywhere from 6 to 12 months would be a reasonable reserve in my opinion. I think 6 months is really the minimum, and you guys would be right about a year of budgeted expense. That budget is going to go up as the local costs go up.
Yeah, I think we plan on using that for the down payment.
So that's kind of how we have this set up. CCD, again, just whatever's in there, I think that makes sense just to use that for the fire truck. And then on the TIF, since this would be a capital expenditure improvement to the area in general, we recommend using TIF for some of that as well. Fire truck. And then I think fire truck is one issue, another issue project. The other side is the shop, utility building. There is a bit of flexibility as to how much TIF. It depends on how much is coming out of electric. Right now I have 500 out of TIF, million out of electric, that's assuming 1.5 million. Needed more to come from electric depreciation, I think that's, so that's.
And not take as much from TIF?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not set in stone.
Yeah, we just, in the back of our mind, we always want to have TIF,
Yes.
have a cushion.
And then with this particular project, I mean, the fact that it is shared by the utilities, and utility funds that are on hand, not having to borrow money.
Sure.
Page 5, for those that are visual, this has some general trends. It's pretty straightforward. Whenever that money all comes out, those fund balances are going to decrease, and then we hope to see increases over time. That's a common phenomenon with town and city fund budgeting. A lot of the times you'll be able to maintain cash balances and have increases from year to year, and then send it down on a project and then kind of restart that process. I would recommend. The other option is to borrow money. Sometimes you have to do project, for example. Pages 6 and 7, looking at the utilities. So as I'm looking at the shop, all these funds are intertwined. We're looking at general fund, CCD, and TIF. We're also looking at utilities. I am concerned with what I'm seeing in utilities. To be frank, I think that the utilities will likely need rate increases sometime soon. Water utility has been losing money for the last couple of years. The electric utility, while the reserves are in good shape, a lot of it is likely going to go towards the shop, which is a good thing because then we don't have to borrow any money for the shop. But the electric utility is also operating at a deficit for the last couple of years. Wastewater utility, we just need to make sure that we're maintaining coverage and cash requirements due to the outstanding SRF bonds. So not as much of a concern, particularly the water utility is a concern, in my opinion. What I'm seeing is that if utility continues to spend the way it's spending, then there won't be any money left in the operating fund sometime in 2027, which is 6 months away. So, so as part of this exercise, I wanted to make sure that the council was aware of what we're seeing in utilities as well. Page 7, analyzing the trends of the utilities. We'll see the electric operating, the water operating are likely going to continue to decrease. Water operating below zero if no changes are made here soon. Then electric depreciation, depending on what project needs are in the next, that could change, but at least for now we're seeing a significant portion of that coming out of the shop, coming out of the fund for the last water increase was 2021, last wastewater increase was 2022, although the water did have phases in for 2023. And then electric for 1,000 kilowatt hours, 134.55. So I do a lot of work across the state in different utilities, particularly water and electric, some in wastewater as well. And I would say that water rates are fairly low. Sewer rates are not quite as low. And electric, I think, is very comparable with other municipal utilities. They're about 65 IMPA communities, and their electric is right in that range. Typically, anywhere from $160 to $220 bills when you're on an investor-owned utility, depending on where you are in the state. I think it's also important to kind of understand where you sit with other utilities. If we were to look at rate studies, I think that it would make sense to do all three as a check-in, not because every utility needs an increase right this second. I think there's a priority list, in my opinion, kind of tackling what issues are most important.
Take it waters first and sewer. Are you comfortable with sewer where it is or not?
What I would recommend is if we're gonna look at water and electric, we might as well look at, just to make sure that we're gonna be covering bond payment, making sure that, payment of lieu of tax is also accounted for in each utility. So something that I've noticed as I've done the budget over the last few years is that we used to have 40,000 come out of all three utilities, 1,000 a year. When I noticed that the sewer utility was not running at a surplus that I felt comfortable with, I recommended to take away that payment of lieu of tax,
Right.
understanding that the general fund could still sustain with the property tax revenue. So that would, to me, was a Band-Aid, which is fine because that's a way to keep your rates down. But that was 2 years ago. So now we're in a position to where I'm probably going to recommend that the water utility probably going to need to do that as well, but then that takes away from the general fund. So the way all these funds work together, and the fact that each of the utilities has different revenue sources, amounts, I don't think it necessarily makes sense to have it 40, 40, 40. If anything, I would think would really look at the actual infrastructure and the revenues and come up with some sort of calculation to make sure that each utility is paying their fair share based on what they can actually bring in. I think it's disproportionate to have 40,000 coming out of water and there's not as much revenue there compared to electric. So that's something I would want to look at. On the sewer side, just making sure that coverage requirements and cash funds are where they need to be. A reminder with the wastewater bonds, you have to maintain 125% coverage, which right now are, which is good. In a couple of years, if your expenses increase like they are the other two, you'll no longer be meeting. That's years down the road, probably 2 or 3 years, where I'm kind of something else I want to make sure the council understands too is as a potential option on the top in the utility building is if that money is coming out of electric, there is a potential way to pay that money back from water and sewer interfund at 0%. That's not what the council has to do, but if that was something that was important to make sure that depending on what is actually needed in the utility building, we wanted to really comment on who is paying what and where it's coming from, then that would be a way to do that without having to do financing for water and sewer. But that's not something that has to be done. I mean, I think where we have it right now is most of that would come out of electric depreciation, maybe some out of TIP, depending on what decisions are made here next few months. Nothing additional has to come out of water and sewer, but it is an option to pay back the electric. Last slide here, just kind of thinking forward. I think fire truck moving forward, we really need to get with the township, ensure that if we're going to do this, and like you said, the prices are changing constantly. They're right in their sweet spot of starting their budget. This is the best time as any. Once we miss this window, they're not going to be able to likely issue more debt until another year, if they have to issue debt to their. We look at their other financial advisors.
Get a number.
Get a better number.
Yep.
But I feel comfortable with the depreciation fund reserves. That's one great thing about having reserves, is you can look at it on paper and say, there's could be endless subjectivity as to how much money you have. But when you get into a situation like this where you're able to invest this back into the community, particularly the way I think about it is you don't have to borrow money. That's a great thing, because if you ever looked at your mortgage payment and tried to calculate how much interest you pay, it makes you sad. So, it makes
Yeah,
me
it
sad.
does.
So if we're able to have cash funding available to make this happen. Utilities, I don't think any decisions need to be made tonight, but I do strongly recommend that we put together
You're gonna be back in a couple months, you said, right, to,
probably next,
okay,
so.
okay.
That's
How soon you wanna get with the township?
tomorrow.
That's fine.
Give me a call. But, yeah, now's good.
I've got a silly question on page 3.
Okay.
You go back to that slide, it's looking at, you said we're gonna, on the fire truck, a third, a third, a third.
Yep.
Numbers I'm seeing is 270 and 270 and 530.
Okay, so 270, that's town's third, split between general and CCD.
Okay.
TIF would be another third, which is really a third town, a third TIF, which is really 2/3 town. Right? Because TIF is under the town.
Yep.
But that's how that's split up. And what's important about the CCD is that whatever money is going to be in there at the time the cash is needed, that was my estimate based on if this happened in 2027. Maybe every year you're getting tax revenue in the CCD, it's a 5 cent based on the assessed value. So any amount that's in there, I'm going to recommend you use that. This, unless there's some other, and it seems like that was the plan all along. Unless there's some fire department need for that one, I think it would make sense to probably just.
So what's your thoughts about extending that expense over 2 years? Or over
Yeah,
3
you
years?
could.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you're doing. I'm seeing, and you know, because I'm president of the TIF board. Thing of it is, I'm concerned about of a amount of money we've got in there. As you look at page 8, you know, is on the sewer bonds. If TIF doesn't pay the sewer bonds, who's going to pay it? So
Well,
it's
yeah,
got to
we
be.
gotta, so I've accounted for $325 a year.
Yeah.
in that old sewer. That's budget. When I built this out, I needed to make sure that you guys were covering your annual pledges before even thinking about any of this. So if you look at page 4, that should give you a better understanding of where we expect the TIF funds to be.
I can get.
Yep, next page there. So 2025, that's going to be your actual TIF balance. And so the TIF's the last one there. You can see that from 2026 to 27, there's a dip. The reason why is because assuming all that's coming out in 27, in all likelihood, depending on the scope and the terms, depending on how much they need, I think one of the quotes that I saw from a few months ago was they were going to need 500,000 upfront, and then it kind of was going to go up from the rest of throughout the rest of the building of the fire truck. So in this situation, you're seeing a fairly significant decrease in 27, but then we start to see that bounce back in 28, 29, 30. Kind of the whole, it kind of begs the question of why even do this exercise, and that's the reason why I want to make sure that when this money comes out of the funds, are we going to be able to sustain this?
So you're looking at 2026 out of the RDC funds of taking the amount of, see it right there, it comes down $530,000, correct?
Yeah.
So-
Well, I guess whenever,
That's, if it happens this year, it's taking $530,000 out of TIF to make this happen within a year.
yeah,
And at that point, all the obligations are done, it's paid, the truck's paid for, except that when you get it.
or you stretch that out over
We
This
know,
is,
that's,
this is an exercise to help make that decision.
Yeah.
So,
Is it-
I don't know when that money is gonna come out, but if I assume that it's gonna come out in a year, or you're good in a year, then that means that if it's 2 or 3 years, then that's all better.
Yeah, well, like I said, we use it for match on the community crossings. The
Yep.
town hasn't had to spend anything on that.
And that's in there.
That's a pretty good
We-
chunk of change every year.
We've got 168,000 in 2026. It was already spent or pledged.
It's pledged.
Pledged. So I've got that in there, and then for future years, I was assuming 250.
Okay.
So, really try to cover the bases with
Okay.
with all the different pieces. To me, covering all those pieces first, and then we look at fire department and the utility building, and that's kind of where we're at.
I'd say with the fire truck, I think a 2 to 3 year payment, especially, and if you can get it right away, that's a little different story. But if you extend that over that period of time, shouldn't be a problem. And I really never could understand if you make a contract with this fire.
You have to sign a contract for you even.
But you have to accept any overage they may put on. In other words, you can't.
If you're building, yes. But they usually have fluff in it, so basically you're gonna have $20,000-$30,000 fluff for certain things. But that's not saying they're gonna be within that $20,000 or $30,000 after 3 years, if you were to sign a contract to start building them up. The other two, they'll be done within 27. They are demo models, that's why I went that route, it's cheaper. But there again, in order to get it, you gotta sign that contract, and in order to sign a contract, township wants contract signed so they can base it
So
off
they
of
get
that.
their money.
Yes, so
Yeah.
they can get that money.
Well, let's get our meeting together with you and the township. We know we're good. We're good for our 2/3.
Yep.
We're ready to go.
That's
We're ready to go. All we need is their third commitment, and we'll get a truck.
And Mike, keep in mind, you don't pay until you take delivery.
Right. But the thing of it is, when you take delivery, if you sign the contract, that's all it's gonna cost you.
You gotta sign that contract before you even go to step one.
But when it's done, you pay that same amount. Whatever the contract amount
No.
is.
Not if you're gonna build one from the get-go, and it takes 3 years, that could change. But the other two trucks, yes, that's right there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, council, town officials?
Not at this time. We'll have plenty.
You got another card.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, the only thing I have, public comments here, the Foundation's Recovery that had requested to do a event in our amphitheater this weekend, they've canceled that, so that will not be happening. All right, anybody else out there that wasn't on the agenda? Appreciate you guys coming down, answer any questions afterwards. I think you've cleared a lot of things up. Really appreciate you coming. I'm sure the people back there will have some questions for you.
I just realized I drove a different where my cars are,
Yeah.
so I will drop some cars off at the office for you to.
Okay, that'd be great, yeah. Yeah, leave some extras and,
I can leave some cars.
Okay.
They have my number.
okay, all right. All right, anybody else have anything? Any other questions? No? Mike, what else you have?
As long as you guys can be transparent and get us the things we're looking for. Setbacks, water, surface water, and I think the lighting doesn't look that bad. When you make the curb cut up on Cochran, it looks like you're gonna do a curb cut up there. We'll pull extra water off of that, take that into consideration. That water's gotta go someplace. It's gonna go, direction it's gonna go right down towards you guys. So I think drainage is gonna be one of your big things. That would make me happy. Okay, that's it, that's all I got.
Tom?
No.
Troy?
Yes, I got a couple things. Money. Our garage doors, bay doors. We've been having a lot of problems with them. Thursday, which I think she's got on the docket to sign, we got 2 openers being installed. And then they gave me a price on replacing the rest of them because we're having so much problems. 27 years old. So, but anyway, just putting it out there. Due to be replaced is $3,973.32, which coming Thursday to do that, because
Is that for both?
that's for both of those to
Okay.
be done. And the rest of them, 11,169
Each or altogether,
altogether.
install.
So basically, it was gonna be around $15,000. We was having problems last year with them. They gave me a quote last year, it was just about the same quote for all of them, around 15 grand.
Openers and all.
Kristen? Pay for that, what do we have?
Is the township going to pay half?
I don't know.
That's a big question. That'll determine.
Yep, well, let's check that out, and if they can pay half, we might as well do them all. Are we good with that?
I mean, I'd like to look at it, but
We're going to end up going through one.
there's not enough in fire department supplies. I know that.
Not that.
Not even for half, okay.
So I have to look. See, probably depends on the equipment. I know the hose is less than originally planned, so maybe there's some leeway with that.
Okay.
So,
Let's look and see where we could get the money, and then look and see if the township can pay half, and do them all.
Well, like I said, they're coming Thursday, replace it too, it's not working.
Okay. Ken?
Just a couple of comments. Jesse, if you would, sometime check all the park signs. I had a couple of comments that's knocked down. Run over. Park signs. Park. What Aaron and Klaus said.
We have park signs in Southtown?
We have South.
I said, I know there's some out here. I'll go look.
Must be knocked down. Okay.
Maybe they are knocked down.
All right, one last time, anybody? Appreciate everybody coming and comments, and we'll get this thing all worked out. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. What are they talking about? Park signs downtown now.
Down there, I guess on Harrison Street or something, is what Harry was telling me. He and Klaus were correct, he said they don't know how to get to the park.
Jesse, this for me to sign now then? Here you go.
So folks, if you feel like you need to get more information,
Aaron,
time to do
Klaus,
this.
on the park side.
Yeah.
Hey, Tanner.
Okay. Nice trip home.
Disappointed you didn't come in and leave with a god-awful buzz crone joke or something.
Aaron left me a message, he fell. Can you go see, check on him? Can you and Tanner go check on Raymond? He left me a message.
Hey, what's going on, Matt?
With who?